List 30 minutes. Conditions apply. The time by Sagicor Bank is.
It is now 7 o'clock. Time now for the Morning Watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, should Jamaica keep the Privy Council? And in the second watch, dealing with health-related discrimination at the workplace. For our social media question, we ask, should Jamaica keep the Privy Council? What are the pros and cons? Please share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and the YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
All right, so I quote, "We cannot force someone to hear a message they are not ready to receive. However, we must never underestimate the power of planting a seed." And this is from an unknown source.
Great quote there. Good morning, Roshane.
Good morning. I strongly believe in this quote. It's a very profound, planting of seeds. I remember growing up, my grandmother used to say to me, Roshane, come to church, and she kept on inviting me and other persons inviting me to church. So the seed was planted, and eventually the decision was made at a later time. So how are you doing?
And I'm well. As you talk about decision and all of that, how was Champs for you? Champs 2022.
Well, for me, I did not even get a chance to even watch one race. I was so busy, I had other obligations. I remember Friday evening. I don't want to get into detail, but I was so busy. I didn't even get a chance to watch one race. But it's not because Calabar wasn't doing well why I didn't watch it. But nevertheless,
I won't go any further with that. All right. The first watch will be back after this break.
All right.
Morning, Sister Mary. See me bring you a few things to help you out this week.
Thank you, my love. I don't know how I would have managed without the church family.
No problem, sister. By the way, me have some good news for you. You hear about the social pension program?
Social what?
Social pension.
No. What that?
Government bring in a new program that provide money for older people like you who don't have no steady income, no pension, and don't benefit from no government program. Them pay it out every 2 months.
You think me we qualify?
You did help to build this country. And now that you're old and you struggle, that make you qualify.
That's true. So what me have to do to get it?
Well, you have to take your documents and apply down at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security office. Then they'd start taking application from in May, and some people will start get the money from middle of July.
Sister Keisha, that sound good. But I don't know if I can manage all that up and down for go apply and then go collect money a month time, Me not so strong again.
Ministry of that covered, Sister Mary. You can appoint an agent to help you with that if you can't manage.
Boy, it's good to know that government looking out for we old people. We make a contribution and now We don't have nothing.
The government of Jamaica has introduced a social pension program for elderly Jamaicans who do not live in a government care institution or receive cash grants from any welfare program and who do not receive a pension or NIS benefits. You can't afford to miss out. Visit the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's office in your parish to apply. You must take your birth certificate, a government ID card, your NIS and TRN cards, and your bank account details to facilitate payment of your benefits. Don't have a bank account? Not to worry. We will pay your benefits through a remittance agency. Apply now. For more information, call 876-922-8007 or check the ministry's website at www.mlss.gov.jm. The Social Pension Program, caring for our elderly. A message from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, once again, the issue of the Privy Council has risen to the fore of public debate and discourse. Should or should we not keep the Privy Council? Of course, there are strong arguments on both sides. And to present and represent these arguments, we have online Mrs. Valerie Nita Robertson, attorney at law, QC, and Mr. Bert Samuels, attorney at law. Good morning to you both.
Morning, Valerie. Morning, listeners.
All right, good to have you both with us this morning. Well, let us begin at the very beginning. For the record,
our friend, Valerie and I are very good friends. That's the beginning.
I saw the article, Mr. Samuels. Yes. For the record, what are your respective positions on whether Jamaica should stick with or part from the Privy Council? Beginning with you, Mrs. Nita.
Well, my position is based on experience, which is always the best measuring tape. Over the years, there have been many decisions that our courts have, what I would say, is unforensic, but they have dropped the ball in relation to the decisions that one would expect the delivering of justice. I mean, we can go as far back as Pratt and Morgan, where persons have been waiting on death row for years, and it took the Privy Council to say that, well, this is inhumane treatment. We go to issues concerning identification, Oliver Wiley, which they hammered for years, and Junior Reid, which happened to be one of my cases. And we've been coming forward ever since, ending up with Lessine Edwards, which was the latest. I mean, it was so obvious. It pained us to be arguing over and over that this is just not justice. So now we are in Jamaica, where we are going to decide whether we want to keep the monarchy or not. And I don't want to keep the monarchy. I'm a proud black woman. However, justice has nothing to do with the politics of abandoning the monarchy and taking onto ourselves full governance. And I support that. But until I see a court that is going to deliver justice to the people of Jamaica, I am going to stick with that court. Don't tell me what you hope will happen. I live in hope, but until that day, I will stick with the Privy Council. We can do what Trinidad does. Jettison the monarchy, but keep the Privy Council until such time.
Interesting.
That's my position.
Yes, right. Mr. Samuels, your position.
My position is that my learned friend seems to have a problem with Jamaican Court of Appeal, which she's entitled to, because you can't compare the Privy Council with Jamaican Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal is the appeal court to which we move from to the Privy Council. So that, yes, we have issues with the quality of some of the judgments from our Court of Appeal, which the Privy Council has from time to time corrected. But to compare apples with apples, we must say, what is the replacement those who do not want to continue the Privy Council want? We want a Caribbean Court of Justice. So that if we are criticizing the judgments of the Jamaican Court of Appeal, the context must be that where else can we go other than the Privy Council? And my position is we can have a Caribbean Court of Justice. 2022 marks 50 years since the law schools in the Caribbean have been producing fine lawyers. And I think that we can have fine lawyers in the Caribbean Court of Justice. One of my classmates was a judge of the Caribbean Court of Justice. He retired from Guyana. He's not Jamaican. I don't think any Jamaican politician can reach him. And I think that the Caribbean Court of Justice, based on how it is constituted, can give independent and quality judgment. Part of the problem I have with hanging on to the Privy Council is that it sends a message to young lawyers, to young black people, that we don't have the intellect, we are not there as yet, to give judgments of a high quality. And as a proud African Jamaican, I cannot accept that it takes a British trained judge of a different ethnicity to give justice to me. I think that we can give justice to ourselves. We have shown that the West Indies team, when all the islands come together, we can be a very powerful cricketing force. We can be a powerful intellectual force at the final Court of Appeal. This has to do with self-esteem. It has to do with how we look at each other. And I think that to compare the quality of Jamaican Court of Appeal judgments with the Privy Council is an unfair comparison, because we must look at the Caribbean Court of Justice's decision. There have been many decisions out of the Caribbean Court of Justice that I have admired, and I have read them, and I think time comes in Jamaican language, time comes.
Mrs. Robertson, yes, go ahead.
The judgments that come out of Jamaica and the other Caribbean islands has nothing to do with intellect. We have fine intellect in Jamaica, as you well know. A lot of our citizens have distinguished themselves. Has nothing to do with intellect. I now believe it is influenced, wittingly or unwittingly, by how small we are, who the individuals are, and some issues that we need persons who are considering them need to maintain or not maintain. That is my position, because it cannot have anything to do with intellect. We have some of the finest judges in terms of intellect. In England, they are so far away, they don't know anything about very little about Jamaica, who the individuals are. They don't care about the cultural impact of issues. They are looking at the justice of the circumstances and what common sense dictates. Justice cannot be determined by whether we are black or we are white. And we have to get that into our head. It has nothing to do with color, nothing to do with sex or creed.
So is my friend saying that Jamaican or Caribbean judges don't know about? I'm confused.
Don't know about what?
Justice.
They are failing to deliver justice because they are impacted by other things in the Caribbean, which should not be so. They're
That's
impacted by other things. They're not looking. Bert,
if you're cursing
Bert,
over, that's a serious indictment on me, you know. Serious.
Bert,
I mean,
well, have we governed ourselves? We have black
Okay.
people.
All right, interesting stuff.
Brave to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, interesting stuff. We're up on a break. Please hold those thoughts. We'll be right back.
A lot of young people not listening, honestly.
Hold those thoughts. We'll soon come back.
St. Anne, get ready for the first staging of Lent Praise 2022. Holy Thursday, April 14, showtime, 7:30 p.m. Featuring Jermaine Edwards, Petra Kay, Sister Betty Martin, Unity Singers, O'Shane Mays, and many others. MC yours truly, Abigail Belair. Admission $1,000 at the gate. Children under 12 free at the KAG Jerk Center, Car Wash and Sports Lounge, Main Street, Runaway Bay, St. Anne. It's Lent Praise 2022.
The first sound they make is to simply let the world know they're here. And then it's our duty to help them show the world why they're here in the first place.
Give them every advantage with the Guardian Achiever, a plan that provides for their educational dreams and protects their health and life in the process. For more information, call 888-4LIFE to speak to an advisor or visit myguardiangroup.com.
Things you can do online with NCB in 10.6 minutes or less. On your marks, go!
Open a bank account, open an investment account, get a fast cash or pay advance loan, sign up for our mobile app and pay bills, make transfers and check your balances. Get pre-qualified for your dream home, apply for a credit card, apply for an auto loan to buy your dream car. Visit www.jncb.com/getdigital to get your financial goals moving NCB fast.
When you need the best premium quality for your home and commercial projects, Berger is the only brand. Beautiful, durable finishes are just a brushstroke or trowel away. Berger Everglow, Berger Royale, and Berger 303 are virtually odorless, fast drying to enjoy that room in no time, and are easy to clean after any mess. And Berger Trowel On protects against harsh tropical weather, no matter the season. Get the boldness of Berger today. Berger for lasting beauty and protection.
Sit and pass your CXC Cape City and Girls Math and English exams in only 6 to 12 months at Distinction College. Start online and face-to-face classes in May and sit exams in January or May, June of next year. In math, English, chemistry, biology, IT, start international course in practical, geriatric and pediatric nursing, phlebotomy, plumbing, early childhood education, and more. Register this week and win yourself a course or subjects for free. Visit us in Kingston, Spanish Town, Ocherius, and St. Elizabeth. Call us at 356-4167.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the first watch, we're asking the question, should Jamaica keep the Privy Council? And we have online Mrs. Valerie Nita Robertson, attorney at law, QC, and Mr. Bert Samuels, attorney at law, with us. Now, before the break, they were going at it. I don't know who to bring on first. Mr. Samuels, you go on.
And by the way, I don't want Mr. Bert Samuels, who knows me very well.
Yes.
You're my neighbor.
They're like family.
Yes.
For the impression, I am not black conscious. I am extremely black conscious. To the contrary.
You're a proud black woman, you say. Proud black woman.
That's right.
and Bert says that he's a proud Jamaican.
What's worrying in Valley's reasoning is that the end result of it is that we in the Caribbean cannot give justice if we make the highest court come from the Caribbean. We will not be able to deliver the kind of justice that the Privy Council, which is constituted.
No, Bert, I believe
like
we can.
I
believe we can, but we haven't reached there yet. I am
What?
not satisfied that we have arrived there. And so
What?
I'm about to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Let me give can I give another example? There is a court
Sure.
of appeal in England, and the final court of appeal from that court of appeal is the House of Lords. So if the House of Lords gives a decision where it overturns the English Court of Appeal, is that a criticism and a condemnation of the English Court of Appeal because it made an error of law or fact? It can't be. Every appellate court is going to correct the lower court from time to time. So when the Privy Council corrects our court, most of the appeals that go to the Privy Council from the Jamaican Court of Appeal in criminal matters the appeals do not succeed. They uphold the Jamaican Court of Appeal decision in the majority of criminal matters. Answer that, Valerie.
And how many have gone in the last 10 years?
No, man. Just give the statistics to the public. Are most
What?
appeals
What?
allowed? Is the Privy Council finding that most of our judgments from the Jamaican Court of Appeal are wrong, or the majority they say?
But Bert, when we do our matters and
Yeah.
they end here in Jamaica and we are satisfied with the judgment, it might even be on our side, but we
Yeah.
can see the reasoning, the depth of reasoning, and the analysis. We don't go to
Yeah.
the Privy Council.
No,
There are
but
matters
Valerie, you
that
must
people
agree.
say no. Let me finish. There are matters that people take to the Privy Council because they want to win, but it
Yeah.
may not be a balanced view or
That's true.
objective
But
view.
Valerie,
So those
Court
that
of-
go there that are not overturned. Listen, to say that the majority that go there
Yeah.
are upheld
Yeah.
is not a measure. The measure is
I see.
the obvious one in which justice is not being done. That we have to struggle 20 years.
Next
We,
question
our
now, Valerie.
legal team
Next question.
struggled 20 years with
Next
Latin
question.
Edward.
How many of our poor defendants who have been convicted and go to the Jamaican Court of Appeal and lost out at the Jamaican Court of Appeal can afford the Privy Council? Let the public know that your client got a free service
No,
from the
my
lawyers up
client was
there.
a poor man. Let me tell you how my
Yeah, but
let me
we have
tell
the
you how my
exception,
client
Valerie. Most
afforded
of our
it.
clients
We
cannot afford the Privy Council.
we didn't charge them any fees. Okay?
Most of our clients cannot
We-
afford the Privy Council.
Let her
How
respond,
many
please.
can afford the Caribbean Court of Appeal? How many?
It comes here. It can come here. It can hear matters here. So there's no trouble for the lawyers. It can come here.
They are going to charge them anyway. To Argubert, come on.
Oh,
Come
please, Valerie.
They're going to charge them humongous fees anywhere. Anyway.
We can give justice, sir. We are
And
capable
it
of
might
giving
be
justice.
cheaper, Bert. I don't say no to that. Okay? I'm trying to be objective in my argument.
We agreed. We
I
agreed
don't
on
say no to that. But until that day that we can say weigh the matters in the scale, right now I would rather stick with the Privy Council.
that day is
Until
today,
that
Valerie.
day.
That day is today. That we can
No,
govern
no,
ourselves.
I'm not
We
convinced.
can govern
We have-
ourselves. You can't have
listen.
Her Majesty's court and say that you live in you want to become a republic. Trinidad example is so I don't know what they're about because either you have the Queen or you don't. The Privy Council
No,
is Her
Bert, they
Majesty's
want
court.
to ensure
The Privy Council
that
is Her
there's-
Majesty's
Bert,
court. Let the public
no.
know that it's Her Majesty's court. It's not our court.
Listen, you are so against Her Majesty, right? What about the
And our
Westminster
subsidiaries.
of governance that we
predecessors.
have? And
Yes.
even the English legal system. Just take the people's legal system and that's what you're using out here. Why don't dash it out and impose a different one? You take the system and then you only want to take a piece of it. No, take what works. Take what works.
Well,
In terms
why
of
don't you force
governance,
some English judges to man the Jamaican Court of Appeal? Maybe you
I
could make
have
a coup.
nothing against
Get some
white
English judges to come and man the Jamaican Court of Appeal.
I
They alone
have-
can give us
Bert,
justice.
I have nothing
Please.
against white people. What
I don't use no white. I say English.
Well,
It happens to be white.
whatever you want to call it.
Bring some English judges here to man the Jamaican
No,
Court of Appeal
I
so
would
we can
like
get justice.
our court
But only
in the
them can give us
Caribbean.
justice. Oh, no.
I would like our courts in the Caribbean to live up to the expectations and standards that we as citizens impose, expect. That's what I would like.
I agree to disagree on this one, boy. Trust me.
Let me ask both of you. The fact that Jamaica is en route to a Republican status. How does this discussion factor in that equation?
You can't be Republican and have the final course of being another.
Hold a while there, Mrs. Robertson. Let Mr. Samuels respond first.
Teaching the colonialists.
Mrs. Robertson, I'm going to make Mr. Samuels respond first, if you don't mind.
All right. So my view is that it is inconsistent with the idea of being a true republic, not a face card republic, to keep one of the arms of the government, that is the judiciary, at the peak of it, a foreign jurisdiction, and the Queen of England being her court. It makes rubbish of being a republic if one of the three arms of government still remains in Whitehall. Please.
Mrs. Robertson, your response?
Well, I obviously don't agree. As I said before, this is a political issue, and I'm not about to play that game. We have done poorly in governing ourselves in Jamaica. I want any Jamaican to tell me.
Bring Governor Earl back then. Let Governor Earl come back.
Listen, no. It doesn't mean bringing them back first. It means that we need to do better than we are doing.
Well, remember, young people
birds.
telling young people that we can't give
Mr. Samuels, please let her finish. Let her finish, Mr. Samuels.
Let me finish.
Yes,
Justice cannot wear a race or a color, Mr. Samuel. It cannot.
You're extending justice to one color.
Mr. Samuels, please.
Please take a set of facts and put between people of all color and nationality. We must be able to agree where justice ends, where it begins and where it ends. It cannot be that it is going to be determined because we are proud black people.
Are you sure you can get a visa?
Are you true, Mrs. Robertson? Are you true with your statement, Mrs. Robertson?
Subject is more important to me. Okay? More important to me. And right now, where it is being delivered, I am satisfied. Not perfectly fully, but I am satisfied. And until you give me an alternative, Mr. Samuel, that I can objectively and honestly say, yes, I am now satisfied, I will remain where I am.
Mr. Samuels, do you have an alternative?
I have. One exists.
One exists, right?
Court of Justice. We are paying for it. Jamaican taxpayers are paying for that court right now, and it's not being used. We must start somewhere. I don't want any young person listening to your program to think that I do not believe that lawyers can be trained to be independent and have the intellect of the Privy Council. I could never face up to that. It's 60 years of independence. Come on.
And what? 6 years of independence and what?
I bright like them.
Yes, the
and
young
you
people
bright
want
like
to judge
them.
for themselves.
You bright like them, and our colleagues are bright like them, and our judges are bright like them.
Of course they are. Don't you ever let the public think that that is my position.
Currently, Caribbean Court of Justice doesn't have a Jamaican judge on it, so we can't say that we can influence.
Wait, Mrs. Robertson, please let Mr. Samuels finish. It's time.
Yeah, the Caribbean Court of Justice, as presently man, does not have a Jamaican judge on it. So when we're talking about, influencing the court and all that, I don't know what that story is about. Which Jamaican judges aren't on it? So we are going to influence the Guyanese judge and the Trinidad judge and go drink liquor with them? What are we saying? It's an independent court.
You have the final say, Mr. Robertson.
I believe there is one Jamaican. His name is Anderson.
Yeah.
But he's an academia. He used to lecture at UWI. I don't know him.
No, you don't even know him.
I haven't read any judgment.
I
am not going to allow you.
The Jamaican public can vote for. Which Jamaican government can influence who sits on the Privy Council? Yes.
Final word,
Gratitude,
Mrs. Robertson. You have
there are
half a
issues in
minute.
the Caribbean between Jamaica and other islands. Don't tell me you don't know that.
Miss
All
Brown
right.
Jackson is
Thank
our
you.
Supreme
Allow me
Court
to
judge,
finish.
and we are proud of her.
Allow me to finish.
Why are we proud of Valerie? Why are you
Allow
proud
me
of
to
Brown
finish.
Jackson in America becoming a judge?
I am so sorry.
Allow me.
Lady and gentlemen.
Allow me.
Lady and gentlemen, I'm sorry. You can't even finish, Mr. Robertson. Time is up on us. But I want to just thank you both for joining us. It's
No,
a good.
sir,
Are you
please
proud
allow
of Brown
me to
Jackson?
It's a good thing that both of you are friends. All right? And you have made my job very easy this morning. Only 2 questions I got in. Please have a wonderful day, both of you.
go out there.
It's Love 101 FM, the family station. Trust you are doing well. If you've just joined us, welcome. Apply today for a DBJ recovery line of credit or Go Digital loan to help you find a way. The time by J and Small Business Loans is 7:31. We'll be right back after these messages.
Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, Corinaldi primary closes amid outrage after parent beats security guard. We see also that Little Bay evictions will continue, says lawyer. And then Issa's lawyer challenges standing of charges from loss of firearm. All right, an observer. Party ban worry. Residents anxious about economic survival as shooting triggers police ban on events in Franklin Town. Also in the observer, UNICEF talks 5-year country plan for Jamaica. Good. And then Rwandan president to address joint sitting of parliament on Thursday. Those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. Should Jamaica keep the Privy Council? What are the pros and the cons? Please leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
He knows my name.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the telephone counseling ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of global crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today. 876-220-6474. It's the telephone counseling ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church.
This is a reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
He knows my name.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Roshane for a look at how our Facebook and YouTube and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. Should Jamaica keep the Privy Council? What are the pros and cons? Roshane.
All right, thank you, Dr. Toussaint. Let me take this one first. Let me see here.
Good morning again. I would like to help your female guest. The people in England don't know what is going on, but most of these judges is from areas that things is going on. So sometimes they base it on what they know. They don't base it on facts. I am telling you, they don't base it on facts. They base it on what they know. And so the female guest is so right. You're so right, miss.
All right, so this one says, I don't think we should move from the British Privy Council right now. We need to have a transformation of our justice system before we even consider this. There are two laws in Jamaica, one for the poor and one for the rich. Another person here, keep the Privy Council. Based on my experience, justice in Jamaica is warped, depending on who knows who. Too often, even when the truth is exposed to it is very bad. I'm not seeing the entire message here. And she also said, I have a matter which ended in the appeal court since 2006. To this day, no judge was written. There's a note in a big book saying matter was dealt with. Matter obviously was cooked up. Who knows who? Let me see. I totally agree. So persons are basically basing their arguments. Let me see if I can take this quick one.
Good morning. Hashtag the Morning Watch. I think we don't need the Privy Council anymore. 1962, we become independent and we near 60 years old. And we still have in the Privy Council. We celebrate independence and emancipation every year. What for? Come on. We have grown. 60 years is a huge number. We have grown. Let go of the Privy Council. Let go. We don't even have a proper justice system in our country. Come on, man.
All right, so that's the final one for this morning. Over to you, Dr. Toussaint.
Wow, that's a hot topic.
I can see that.
Debate continues. Yeah, the debate continues. We want to thank those who responded so ably. Well, as we segue into the second watch, lawyer wants law to protect against discrimination based on health. That is the headline of an article in the Jamaica Observer dated April 5, 2022, in reference to an interview with attorney at law, Miss Kedria, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correct, folks. From the article, it seems that there is ostensibly no protection under the law if persons were to be discriminated on the job because of these health challenges. Could this really be so? And if it is, what are the potential issues and possible implications? Well, to discuss these and other related matters, we have joining us Ms. Fowkes, attorney at law, and Mr. Ennis, St. Patrice Ennis, president of the Union of Technical Administrative Supervisory Personnel, UTAS. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good to have you. Mr. Ennis, are you with us?
Good morning, and I'm the General Secretary of UTAS.
All right, General Secretary of UTAS. Thank you very much for the correction and clarification. Well, Ms. Fowkes, I'll begin with you. From a legal perspective, what really is discrimination and how is it associated with health challenges at the workplace?
All right, thank you for that question. So discrimination is any distinction or exclusion or restriction on the basis of an attribute which is protected and which results in the person's ability to participate in society being impaired or nullified. So basically, you have a particular characteristic and you are stereotyped against, or there are other attitudes which affect your ability to function, which does not affect persons without that particular trait in the same way.
And how it's related to health in the
All right.
workplace.
All right. For instance, sometimes when persons are to be appointed in a post, they are subjected to medical examination. Now, the purpose of that medical examination should be to determine whether or not they are healthy enough to carry out the job, right? And so if there is screening for HIV, because that's been a big issue in the workplace, we have a national workplace policy on HIV and AIDS, for instance. If someone is screened and they're found to be HIV positive, what the employer needs to know whether or not that health condition will affect their ability to carry out their work. Well, I can't think of any job that will be affected by somebody's HIV positive status, because there are different ways in which you can protect yourself and others. So that is one of the main things. However, in employment, you have a level of lawful discrimination. Now, if the job requires you to lift heavy items and you have a back issue, right? There's a genuine occupational requirement that the person who is going to carry out this job, right, is able to lift heavy items. If you have an impairment or a health condition that prevents you from doing that, then lawfully that would be a basis on which to exclude you. So my concern really is situations where persons have health conditions that do not impact in any way their ability to carry out their job function. However, the mere fact of their having that condition is affecting their ability to find employment, to retain employment, their prospects for promotion, and also, just any aspect of employment, like getting a raise, being sent to do particular training, is being affected by the fact that they have that disability or that impairment.
So before I go to Mr. Ennis, are you not saying that in terms of discrimination, there are cases in which you cannot avoid that and it is acceptable and it is ethically okay? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. There is a basis in employment law where if the requirement or the trait or not having the trait is a genuine requirement for the job, then that's a basis. For instance, in the UK, there's this case, Laser Top versus Webster, where a women's club it's a recreational club and they were recruiting a manager. Now, this manager has to interface with the women, obviously, but also take them into the sauna, into the shower, and it was felt that, the court agreed that having a male carry out the function that was required was not appropriate because it's an exclusive women's club. So this gentleman, he was not considered for the job and he felt that was discriminatory. But the courts held that, there are circumstances under which, based on the particular requirements of the job, that you're having a particular trait can exclude you. But that trait or that reason must be proportional and it must be justified. And it must be a situation where you're excluded because of that particular trait. So him being a man in that situation was not appropriate based on the job function and the nature of the interaction with the women.
Interesting. Mr. Ennis, are you still with us?
I am here now, but I wasn't hearing anything before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How widespread or commonplace would you say health-related discrimination is within our workplaces in Jamaica today?
That question is directed towards me?
Yes, Mr. Ennis.
Okay. All right. Well, it is difficult to say how widespread it is. What we know, it do exist, because oftentimes many of these things you hear, but it's not formally reported. And so to speak in a definitive way, we can just speak about those that are formally brought to the table. But we do know it exists, and there are some that have been happened in relation to HIV, disclosing people's HIV status, discrimination with respect to that, but also with respect to any mental illness. It is often the case that people are being treated for various kind of mental illness, and that is, and we do have a stigma in Jamaica that once somebody has any form of mental issues, we do not deem it to be illness like other kind of illness. Our common refrain is to say that they are mad, and that and once that is bandied about, then that people are treated unfairly.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ennis. Don't want to be unfair to you, but we are up on a break. Please hold that thought. We'll be right back.
50 and over, get the best health plan as well as fabulous discounts. Visit ccrponline.org today or call 469-1944 and live life to the fullest. The time by CCRP is
7:46.
The journey to building wealth starts with only a few clicks. Get great returns on your time when you sign up for a JN Fund Manager's investments account online. Visit www.jnfunds.com and follow our easy sign-up steps. No need to visit a JN Fund Manager's location. Do it all from your computer, tablet, or cell phone. It's completely online. Get it done anywhere, anytime, in quick time. Open an investment account online today. JN Fund Managers, your goals realized.
This Easter, there's only one choice. It's the juicy, fruity Maxfield Easter buns. Choose the premium brand that stands for consistent quality, excellent customer service, and maximum satisfaction. Find Maxfield Easter buns at supermarkets, outlets, and retailers island-wide. For more information on where to find your Maxfield Easter buns and how to buy and ship worldwide, just visit us at maxfieldbakery.com. Give us a call today at 876-929-3897. This Easter, choose quality. Choose the moist, juicy, fruity Maxfield Easter bun. Choose Maxfield for maximum satisfaction.
I choose to start this year smiling with Colgate-Palmolive. By purchasing selected Colgate-Palmolive products at participating stores, receive premiums or samples. Promotion available from February 1st to March 17th. Go on, what are you waiting for? Start this year smiling with Colgate-Palmolive.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the second half of the second watch, we are examining the whole matter of health-related discrimination at the workplace. And we have online Ms. Kadria Folks, attorney at law, who specializes in employment law, and Mr. St. Patrice Ennis, General Secretary of UTASP. Mr. Ennis, before the break, you were telling us about your concerns re mental illness and how that's treated in Jamaica in terms of the stigma.
Right, and that we do see a lot of in terms of how people are treated unequally. It restricts persons in terms of their mobility in organization, and it often leads to people being treated unfairly. And so that is one of the things that I see a lot happening, working both in public and the private sector. Although I must say that the government, in the government sector, they are far more aware, maybe it's because it's the biggest employer in the country. They are far more aware that in treating with these matters and give much more leniency, particularly when people have to go off and get treatments and so on, or when there are lapses. But what we do find is that many workplaces do not have any measures put in place in terms of to specifically treating with discrimination with respect to HIV. There is no particular guidelines there, although I know the government has developed some guidelines, but many workplaces do not have anything with respect to any protocols in place in terms of how to treat you. And that is one of the major concerns.
Am I picking up correctly that you are saying some of the main concerns fall under the HIV status of individuals as well as mental illness? Are there more that you want to highlight?
Yes,
Mr. Ennis?
yes. There are more in terms of persons other illnesses, that may come to the fore. For example, if you work into the health sector, people who have access to other persons' medical information, that may become that privacy in terms of the medical information may be breached, and there are myriad different form of illnesses, health concerns, and that becomes distilled into the workplace, and then you find that persons are affected or treated not in a fair way with respect to other kinds of illnesses. But I find those mainly happening in the health sector, where people are privy to other people's records, and it becomes a talking thing at the workplace, and people treat it differently in accordance to that. But not so much in the private sector, as that is not easily disclosed. But that's where I find many of those breaches taking place.
Yeah, interesting. Miss Folks, mention had been made by both you and Mr. Ennis of HIV, and also now we're hearing about privacy, and I want to include confidentiality. What is the law of the land in addressing those particular concerns?
In relation to HIV or generally? Well, all right. So there's a national workplace policy on HIV and AIDS, and it requires discrimination based on HIV status, which is real or perceived. Also, there should be any screening for the purposes of determining whether someone is HIV positive for the purposes of employment, right? And also, it has requirements in terms of privacy and confidentiality. In terms of a general privacy legislation, we have the Data Protection Act, which has been passed by the Parliament, but it's not yet in effect. And when that is in effect, it will also impact how we treat with persons' personal data. In the public service, you have a life-threatening illness policy, which is not yet generally in circulation, because I believe there were discussions about having that kind of a policy subsumed under occupational safety and health legislation, whereby in terms of reporting to HR on a person's health status, a doctor would not be required to specify what health condition they have, but would state that they have a life-threatening illness, which is any illness which, if not treated properly, can have dire consequences for the individual. And those kinds of protections and measures are important in protecting the privacy of someone. But I wanted to touch a bit on the Disability Act. I mean, it's very new legislation. The jurisprudence is not yet developed, but it has great potential. If, for instance, you're to look at the American Disabilities Act, which is similar, the only difference in of the understanding of disability is the fact that our legislation says the impairment must be long-term. But under the American Disabilities Act, which is similar in terms to our legislation, a range of illnesses and impairments are covered, like cancer, hypertension, diabetes, well, obviously HIV, any mental impairment. So there's a long list of health conditions that can be covered under that legislation. So as the jurisprudence develops, we will see whether or not the fact that our law says disabilities, any long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairment that affects equal participation in society, we will see if the inclusion of the reference to long-term will affect the range of conditions and impairments that will be covered. So, which is why I was concerned. For instance, recently, someone called me to complain about the fact that she's pregnant, and she was told that she cannot continue to work, but she can return when as her child. And my view is a situation that's covered under the Disabilities Act, because long-term, first of all, is not defined in the legislation, so it's relative. So to my mind, long-term is anything that would require you any kind of impairment. So I'm not saying pregnancy is a disability,
Yeah, I was wondering how you're making the link with that,
no, disability, yes. But what happens, certain conditions associated with pregnancy, which are impairments for the purposes of disability legislation. So for instance, if you have gestational diabetes, if you have sciatica, which is like back issues, pregnant women, as the fetus develops, they might have If you have a standing job, you might not be able to stand, but you can still do the job. Right?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how that law is going to develop, but because it's underdeveloped, I'm not sure what direction it's gonna go in, which is why I was concerned about just specifically regulating discrimination on the basis of health status. Under the Constitution of Jamaica, there are certain attributes like race and social origin, which are specifically enumerated as being prohibited basis for discrimination. Health status is not one of them. In the UK, under the Equality Act, they definitely have an express provision about discriminating based on disability and health for the purposes of employment. So that will bring me to my main recommendation would be to have dedicated anti-discrimination legislation. And then because of my interest in employment, then for the purposes of I would want to suggest that health status is one of those attributes or traits that's specifically protected so that we don't have any divergent views as to whether or not someone who, for instance, has cancer and because of their treatment, they're not able to function the way they normally function. Say, for instance, getting up to come to work is a task, but they might be able to work from home.
Work from home, right.
And there is learning from other jurisdictions which says that remote work is a reasonable arrangement for the purposes of an impairment where you have a disability. And you know that disability can be episodic. So for HIV, for instance, sometimes the person is 100%, sometimes they feel 50%. Any illness, I mean, diabetes, hypertension, whichever illness. So how is it that we're going to meet our workers where they are? So that was really my concern.
Understood. Mr. Ennis, I think you might have the final word based on how the clock is ticking. But how are the concerns normally addressed by members of your organization, and what are the main challenges in doing so that you have come across?
The main challenge is sometimes is to prove the allegations, because one, there is not, as I said, while there are broad policies that may be in place. So you're talking about when you look at the organizations, either disciplinary procedural manual or workplace manual. Many times these issues are not addressed in it, whether it is sexual, whether it is HIV, whether it is any form of discrimination. Many of those things are normally not mentioned in the organization's manual. Even if sometimes, while the government may have a broad state, but the government is very wide. There are many parastatals and so on. It's over 100,000 people. So even within those organizations, parastatal entities and so on, oftentimes there is nothing there, although there may be broad guidelines. So that's one of the concerns. And another form of discrimination that perhaps we have not mentioned is age. I mean, anybody approaching 50 or under over 40 and so on, we recognize too that when the opportunities comes up for courses, opportunities come up for further training and so on. Age is a factor in terms of how the workplace may choose who to go on it. And even because in Jamaica, as I understand it, there is no age limit in terms of how long you can work. While there are places
no age limit.
No
age limit.
It is normally.
Is that so?
Law. When there's not a law to say that you can't work past 65. Oftentimes, the specific organization may say you cannot work past 65, depending on their retirement plans and their pension plan. But the pension plan normally determines what stage you work.
Interesting.
But there's no law to say you can't work past 70.
That's correct.
Okay. Interesting points, Mr. Ennis. Interesting. We perhaps need to dig deeper into this in another program. I want to thank you for coming on to this program. Mr. Ennis and Ms. Folks, have a productive day God bless you both.
Bless you too.
Bye. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for a discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959627. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, reminding you to be purposeful, faithful, thankful, and watchful as I hand you back to Love in the Morning with Roshane Douglas.
Thank you, Dr. Toussaint. Have a great day now.
You too, my brother.
NHF beneficiaries enrolled for diabetes can get a glucometer with the use of their NHF card. Apply online at nhf.org.jm. The time by the NHF is...
It is now 8 o'clock. Time now for Forward